So there's something about your life that you're not too happy about and you want to change. And you decide that you're not going to moan to others, you're not going to obsess about the problem, you're not going to complain. You're going to take charge and bring about that change yourself. You like the idea of making a change because you realize if you keep on doing everything the same way you've been doing it until now, you're probably going to get the same result. And you want something different, a new perspective, a new way of thinking about things, a new way of seeing life. You look at everything around you and you realize this material world that we're looking at is made up of pretty much only empty space. And what is actually flowing between everything, what is flowing between you and everything around you is energy. So it dawns on you that the right energy level is very important and you like the sound of that. You want to have that right level of energy, the kind of energy that resonates well with you, resonates well with your wishes, your desires. You want to resonate the right frequency, something that will bring about a positive change in your life for you to get that kind of life that you want. And that sounds nice, the kind of life that you want. But then you think, is that even possible? Could I get the kind of life that I really want? But I want you to think in those terms. To think of all the possibilities in your future, to think of everything that could possibly happen in your future, and that you get to choose which one of those possibilities becomes your future, becomes your life. Now we're thinking in terms of quantum mechanics that says everything that could happen does happen, but only one of those instances becomes our life experience. Now, what if we have some kind of influence on which one of those instances becomes our instance, becomes our life? If we are able to somehow navigate in which direction the future goes and in which future we end up with, then we get to choose what kind of life we live. We get to choose, we have a bit more say in what our future can be. Let's pause here and take a step back and think, what is it that we really want? Now, I want you to imagine it. I want you to imagine the scenario, your wish, whatever optimal scenario, your optimal future. Try to visualize it with the full power of your imagination, as if it's a memory that you've already experienced, with feelings and everything. Imagine it in your mind. I'll do the same, and since I'm a parent myself and I work mostly with parents, I'll make an example, a parenting example. So as a parent that has certain wishes, maybe they wish that they could be a calmer parent or be a better provider or manage work-life balance better, be closer to their kids, to their spouse, whatever that package is, they visualize that and you visualize your reality. The next step is to ask the universe a question. Ask the universe. Yes, that's right. Ask the universe, how do I get what I want? Now imagine that scenario again, and you're asking the universe, how do you get that? When you do that, you open up yourself and you tune your senses so you can listen in, because you've asked a question, you're waiting for an answer, and you will get that answer. You realize that the universe is actually communicating with you. And after a while, you realize the universe has always been communicating with you. You've just never listened. And when you ask a question, you start listening. It's as if you turn on the radio signal has always been there. You've just never received it and decoded it and tried to make sense of it. So you ask a question, you get a response, you get an answer from the universe. Now, this is not in any kind of voice that you hear. No, this is in your everyday life. Everything that you have exposure to, everything that you experience can be an answer. But when you ask a question, they will have a very different feel to them. They could be a sign. You realize that. You realize, this is to do with what I asked. And then you realize that there are multiple possibilities, multiple ideas that you get exposure to for you to consider, to do differently. And it completely changes your point of view of life. It completely changes the way you feel about everything. Now, with the example of parenting, if you ask, let's say, for example, how can I become closer to my family or how can I be closer to my kids? You might have previously seen someone behave a certain way or have a different parenting style and just thought of it as, yeah, this is them doing it their way. But then when you ask a question, you have a very different feel to that. Suddenly it becomes a possibility for you to consider. Maybe I can try it this way. Or you see something online, a movie, or you read a book, or whatever it is, whatever you have exposure to. These are all ways that the universe is communicating to you and is answering your question. You have to just have the right attunement to it so that you can listen and make sense of it. And the more you do this, the more you ask and more you listen, the better you become at this. So the parent sees different ideas, and then one of those ideas sits well, and they try to implement it. So they ask a question, how do I get this? They get ideas, and then they put it into practice. They put this new way of doing something in their life into practice. But you have to have your mind open. You have to be willing to try something different. So that first question of, how do I get this, is already making you open to something different. And since you are open to a new idea, to a new way of doing something, you perceive things in a different way. So you thought about your reality, you ask as a first step, you listen as a second step, and then you try it out, you implement as a third step. And the fourth step is to acknowledge it. This acknowledgement of the fact that you're doing something different is very, very important. So first acknowledge the fact that you're trying something new. That is important, and be grateful for it. And every step of the way, have that acknowledgement. Be aware of what it is that you're doing. Then when you put a new way of doing something in practice, when you try a new style, when you try doing something differently than you've been doing it before, you get a different result. Now you look at that result, you acknowledge your result, and then you take it in. And you realize that that's either getting you closer to what you really want, or it isn't. Now, more often than not, you will get a positive response. You get a positive result. If you don't, that is just a step of the process. So if you don't get the result you want, you learn from that, and then you try something different. And if you get something that you want, and if you get closer to your wish, then you go back to that first step again and look at the first question. He asked, this is what I want, how do I get it? And you look at what you want. Is that still what you want, or do you want to tweak it? Do you want to amend it and then start the whole process again? This is a cycle. This is a process that is continuous, and this is what we call the ultimate TUY cycle. This is our process for the method that we teach the parents and everyone else to get the life that they want. We practice it ourselves. We love it. It works great with us. We practice it all the time in every aspect of our life. You can practice it and apply it to every aspect of your own life. It is ask, listen, implement, acknowledge, and then ask again. And this continuous cycle, this process will totally change your life. It will give you a new perspective in life, a new feel for how you feel about everything, how you see everything. You just have to put it in practice. What may have seen before as something that you might have been envious of. Maybe you saw someone's life and you thought, I wish I had that. Why don't I have it? Then it changes to, that's an interesting possibility. Maybe it's for me. And that is exactly it. The universe, everything that you're exposed to is letting you know all those possibilities are for you to consider. It is something that is possible. If it's possible for someone else, it's possible for you. Let's remember that. If someone can do one thing, you can too. The possibility exists. It's in your face. The universe is telling you, here, I'm showing you, this is possible. So get it if you want it. But you have to want it. You have to make that choice. And you realize you've always had that choice. You might have not exercised it, or you might have not realized how powerful that choice is. So try this process and you will feel different. Your life will feel different. You will realize that until now, the orchestra of your life has been playing and you've been a spectator and just watching, and now you become the conductor. You decide what happens in your life. You decide in which direction your life goes towards, in which future you get. So try this out and let us know what you think. If you want more information, contact us. This is a process that, as I said, we use it all the time in our own lives. We teach it to others to use it. In fact, we have a couple of nights a week, a couple of nights a month. We have a free evening that anybody can join. And we talk about this process in more detail. Everybody's welcome to join. Join if you can. Have a look at our website. If you have questions to do with parenting or any other aspects of life, send us an email and we'll get back to you. We always love to hear from you. Let us know how you get along.